Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Ganava Radha. Jaya Gopi Ganava Radha. Yashodanandana Bhajana Narayana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Narayana. Yamunatira Vandachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 47, verses 30 to 35. Welcome. What's your name? Gitlena? Gislena. Thank you for being here. So, Atmanyevatmanatmanam Srijay Hanmanupalaye Atmamayanubhavena Bhutendriya Gunatmana. Translation. By myself I create, sustain, and withdraw myself within myself by the power of my personal energy, which comprises the material elements, the senses, and the modes of nature. Purport. Although the Lord is the supreme entity, there is no absolute duality between him and his creation, since the creation is an extension of his being. This oneness is here emphasized by the Lord. Text 31. Atma jnana maya sudho vyatirikto gunhanvaya shushupti swapna jagradbir maya vritibir iyate. Translation. Being composed of pure consciousness or knowledge, the soul is distinct from everything material and is uninvolved in the entanglements of the modes of nature. We can perceive the soul through the three functions of material nature known as wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep. Report. It is clearly stated here that the soul, Atma, is constituted of pure knowledge, pure consciousness, and is thus ontologically distinct from the material nature. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word Atma may also be taken to mean the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna. Since the Lord has just explained in the previous verses that all material phenomena are expansions of himself, the phrase Maya Vritibir Iyate indicates that by studying this world deeply, we will come to the perception of God. From this point of view also, the gopis were advised not to lament. Text 32. Yanhendriyarthan dhyayete mrisha svapna varutita tanurhundyad indriyani vinidra pratyapadyata. As a person just arisen from sleep may continue to meditate on a dream, even though it is illusory, so by the agency of the mind, one meditates on the sense objects, which the senses can then obtain. Therefore, one should become fully alert and bring the mind under control. Purport. The verb pratipad means to be perceived or restored. The soul that is vinidra, free from the dreamlike condition of material consciousness, is restored to its constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord, Sri Krishna, and thus the soul is directly perceived by pure consciousness. Text 33. Ithad anta samhamnayo yoga sankyam manishinam tyagastapo dhamma satyam samhudranta ivapaga. According to intelligent authorities, this is the ultimate conclusion of all the Vedas, as well as all practice of yoga, sankhya, renunciation, austerity, sense control, and truthfulness. Just as the sea is the ultimate destination of all rivers. Purport. Here the Lord states that all Vedic literature is meant ultimately to bring the soul to the point of controlling the mind and senses and fixing them in transcendental self-realization. This process of so-called yoga, mysticism, or religion that involve unrestricted sense gratification are not actually spiritual processes, but rather convenient ways for foolish people to justify their beastly behavior. Lord Krishna here assures the gopis that by fixing their minds in self-realization, they will realize their spiritual oneness with the Lord. Thus, they will no longer suffer the pangs of separation. Text 34. Yatva aham bhavatinam vai durhe varte priyodisham manashasani karshartam mad anudhyana kamyaya. Translation. But the actual reason why I, the beloved object of your sight, have stayed far away from you is that I wanted to intensify your meditation upon me and thus draw your minds closer to me. Purport. Sometimes that which is close to our eyes is far from our heart and mind. And conversely, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Although apparently going far away from the gopis, Lord Krishna was bringing them closer to him on the spiritual platform. And text 35. Yatha dhurachare preshte manha avishavartate strinam chana tata cheta sane krishte shigochare. Translation. When her lover is far away, a woman thinks of him more than when he is present before her. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the same holds true for men, who become more absorbed in thinking of a beloved woman when she is far away than when she is present before their eyes. If you know the prayers, you can join me in praying for the blessings of our teachers, our parampara, and Srimati Radharani and Krishna. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upagaramayam Tadari Shaparandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yura Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Rigapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Sade Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Panchakalpa Tiruvescha Kripa Sindhuvevcha Patitanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prachare Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. Thank you all again for being here for Srimad Bhagavatam class. And we humbly request the blessings of all of the assembled devotees, especially senior devotees, Adi Purush Prabhu, that we can speak something according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra for our own purification and the upliftment in everyone's Krishna consciousness. Jai. So, this is the Lord's message to his beloved gopis. Uddhava is the messenger. So Uddhava has come to Vrindavan and he is delivering this message of Krishna to the gopis. So this is the Lord's message to them. And in the past verse, the Lord was telling the gopis, Hare Krishna, Keshwara, nice to see you. In the past verse, the Lord was telling the gopis that he is never separate from them. And it explains in the purport that Krishna's spiritual body actually never leaves Vrindavan. And so he is actually always with the gopis, his most beloved devotees. But Krishna is also telling the gopis that he is present within everyone's mind, within everyone's life air, and within everyone's senses. So God is present with us. He is present in our individual physical body and in our individual subtle body at every moment. And he's also present within our heart as Paramatma, guiding us at every single moment. And he is also present within the physical elements and the modes of material nature, these different energies that are pulling us in different ways. He's also present in that goodness, passion, and ignorance. And when Krishna leaves Vrindavan, but his real spiritual body is there, he actually does interact with the devotees in Vrindavan. But because the devotees think that he is gone, right? They think that he's gone to Mathura and then Dwarka. They actually imagine that they are imagining him there. Just like when Sakhi Devi, the mother of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, she offers every day bhoga, food, to her beloved son, Nimai. And she thinks that she's just imagining that Nimai is coming every day to enjoy her bhoga offering. But actually, Lord Chaitanya is actually going there. And but she thinks that she is just imagining it. So similarly, Krishna's spiritual body always does remain in Vrindavan, interacting with his devotees, because he can never leave Vrindavan, because Vrindavan is his heart and soul. But the devotees, they really feel he's gone, so they think this is just my imagination. And Krishna at this time is also able to observe their deep love and separation, which also gives him pleasure, because as we've heard many times, love and separation is even deeper than love and union. So when they get to this love and separation, it's actually bringing them to a deeper level of love, and it's actually bringing Krishna to a deeper level of love. So it's interesting. The Lord is actually explaining in this message to the gopis that he is his oneness with the creation, and that the creation is an extension of his being. So the gopis can feel their oneness with Krishna and his presence everywhere. And Krishna is telling the gopis that the soul is distinct from anything material. It is pure knowledge, pure consciousness. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he is actually saying that the Atma can also refer to Krishna. So Krishna is saying, by studying the world deeply, we can come to the perception of God. And Krishna is advising the gopis to not lament their separation from him. So a person who wakes up from sleep might continue to meditate on their dream, but their dream is illusory, isn't it? It's not actually real. So we meditate on the objects of the senses, which is material consciousness, and material consciousness is a dreamlike condition. It's not our real condition, right? Our real condition is spiritual consciousness, that we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we're one with Krishna in quality, but in quantity, we are always small, and Krishna is always great, and we are the servant of his servants. So when we come to this correct consciousness, then we can perceive our soul and our relationship with Krishna. So we have to become conscious of our unconsciousness. We have to become alert and stop sleeping. We have to see what our mind is doing and bring it under control. And Krishna says that this is actually the purpose of all Vedic literature, to control the mind and senses and absorb them in service to Krishna. So why is Krishna advising the gopis in this way? He is actually instructing all of us. And I want to just, you all have been recently, Giri Govardhan Prabhu is now giving class once a month. I want to thank him because we had a very deep discussion about these verses and this topic, and he shared his realizations with me. I shared my realizations with him. We discussed. So a lot of what I'm going to share is coming from that conversation. Krishna emphasizes his oneness with everything, his presence everywhere, and saying that by studying the world deeply, we can realize his oneness with everything and our oneness with him. So as devotees, we might have this reaction of like, wait a second, stop, this is a Mayavada alert. This is like impersonalism. We don't want oneness. We want a personal relationship with the personal God. Why is it talking about oneness? I don't want to merge with oneness or the Brahman effulgence. We want Krishna Prem. And this is true, obviously, that we want pure devotional service to a personal God, to Krishna and Prem, and specifically to our Lord Krishna, who wears a peacock feather and plays the flute. This is our Lord. But Giri Govardhan Prabhu was actually explaining to me that also realizing Krishna's omnipresence, the fact that he's everywhere, actually is important to sadhakas, those practicing spiritual life like us, to help us to avoid an unhealthy aversion to the world. He said, and this is actually a quote by Giri Govardhan from WhatsApp message. One of the three main objections Srila Prabhupada has to Mayavada teachings is that the material world is an illusion rather than the energy of Krishna. The Mayavadis then can see no value in it and simply practice jnana and vairagya. Bhaktas are supposed to be neither too attached nor too averse to the material world. We are supposed to engage with the material world in a Krishna conscious manner, transforming matter to spirit. Jnana, vairagya, leads to an impersonal liberation because the practice is by nature impersonal. We are trying to become devotional persons, which means that all emotions are on the table. We don't cut off our humanness, but rather we integrate our humanness in our Krishna consciousness, right? Arjuna example, he isn't happy when faced with the battle. Yudhishthira example, isn't happy after the battle. Mother Yashoda example, Krishna's mother, is nearly always a nervous wreck, worrying about Krishna. The kings kidnapped by Jarasandha are not happy, and that makes the rescue by Krishna so much more poignant. So he was saying that to him, we are so allergic to Mayavada philosophy that we flee from the part of our core teaching that says that there is oneness and incorporate too much jnana and vairagya into our bhakti. So, end quote. He was pointing out that often we reject the world. We think the world is Maya, and we think human relationships are Maya. And even the humanness in our relationships with devotees. Actually, one time someone said to me, and this was like a very, very close relationship. And this devotee said to me, I don't understand what you mean by our relationship outside of service. Our relationship is serving together. What relationship is there outside of that? And I was just like, what? Like, obviously, Krishna is in the center of our relationship. And obviously, we're inspiring each other in our spiritual life. And obviously, we're doing service together. But we also connect. Like, we also should connect on a human level, on an emotional level, on a mental level, on a like caring for each other level, like as people, you know, and like hear about each other's like lives and what we're going through. So this is just such a misconception. We also think that we need to be perfect devotees. And honestly, thinking I need to be a perfect devotee, that's just pride. That's pride of thinking, I need to be great. We are sadhakas. We're practicing spiritual life, and most of us are beginner practicing devotees, and we need to be able to be human and imperfect. Ravindra Swarup Prabhu says that first we become pure devotees and then we become human beings. So what he's saying is that actually as we advance, we get out of this pure devotee syndrome, thinking we're perfect, and we actually become more human, seeing Krishna in everything, seeing Krishna in others, serving all aspects of others, their body, their mind, and their soul, and integration, so they can realize themselves as a soul in the relationship with Krishna. So we don't hide from the world, we go out in the world and we see everything in connection with Krishna and engage with it in service to Krishna. I'm going to give the example of my husband. He was a brahmachari for 10 years doing book distribution and prasadam distribution. And now he's driving a taxi cab, and in the future will drive Uber. And you know what he is doing? Every day he's distributing so many books and telling people about Krishna and distributing prasadam. He has a picture in his cab of him as a brahmachari chanting japa, and it says, your taxi cab driver was a monk living in a monastery for 10 years. If you have any questions, you can ask him. So people are asking him all kinds of questions, and he's distributing books and prasadam and sharing with people bhakti and having beautiful conversations. So this is a quote unquote normal job, right? But he's making it service. So we have to integrate all of ourselves in our practice of Krishna consciousness. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, better to perform your own duty imperfectly than another's perfectly. So that means we need to know what our duty is, what our propensity is, and who we are. And we have to bring who we are and all of us, all of ourselves, to Krishna and give him everything. Our personality is coming from Krishna. Our gifts we have to share are coming from Krishna. So we shouldn't try to suppress our personality or suppress our gifts, thinking that this is humility, right? Sometimes people come to Krishna consciousness and they feel like, oh, I have to change my personality, in order to kind of fit into like a boxed idea of what a devotee's personality is. Or, I have to suppress whatever gifts I have so that, I'm humble and that I don't, like show off or something like that. But actually, when we suppress ourselves, that actually just makes us proud, because we're falsely trying to be humble. Like if we can, we're not the doer, but if we can do a service and we don't allow ourselves to do that service, then we'll see someone else do that service and there could subtly be like, oh, I could do that better. We should be in the consciousness of happy to see others succeed, happy to see others do nice service. And also, Gauranga Prabhu said that we don't have pride because we do the service nicely. We have pride, and then when we do the service nicely, it's our excuse to like, feel or express our pride. So the pride is there, and actually the path to getting rid of the pride is to doing it. And then in the process, we become purified because we're doing service to Krishna and we're offering the results to Krishna. So we should, Krishna made us. And Giri Govardhan Prabhu says that Krishna never made any junk. We're trying to love Krishna, but Krishna also loves us as we are, fully, completely holy. And Mahatma Prabhu always talks that actually part of learning to love Krishna is also learning to love ourselves, because we're part and parcel of Krishna. So we have to be whole, and we should express ourselves knowing that these gifts are not ours. They're coming from Krishna. And we're offering them back to Krishna. I'll just share a quick example, from my own life. I one time asked Radhanath Swami, I said, people are coming to me and like asking me to be their mentor, but I'm super not qualified. Like, what do I do? And he said that the postal peon isn't qualified. The postal peon just delivers the message. So we're not qualified, but you should do the service anyways. So we should do the service. And Giri Govardhan Prabhu said that, this is also a quote, I think that the more tolerant than a tree, the verse from the Shikshastakam, refers to a condition where we develop sufficient trust in Krishna and faith that he is bringing to us the things good, bad, and indifferent that happen to us. And that these things that he's bringing to us are allowing us to have opportunities to more deeply trust Krishna. So like Arjuna, there will be many freakouts on the way. That is normal, dear devotees. Having freakouts is normal. Don't think if you have a freakout or a doubt that you're a bad devotee. It's part of the process of purification and going deeper. And we can, in those freakouts, just take shelter of Krishna and give Krishna that freakout and use it as an opportunity to more deeply trust Krishna. So this is important for us, this process as sadhakas. But for the gopis, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, he was saying that for the gopis, the notion of Krishna's omnipresence is actually of no use whatsoever. They need Krishna in person because their life is making Krishna happy. Being connected without being able to give him direct happiness is just a cruel joke. Because you see, the gopis, they're actually pure devotees. They're on a very high level. They're not sadhakas like us. So they are way above that stage. And their whole life is being with Krishna personally, because that makes Krishna happy. They don't want to be with Krishna personally for selfish reasons. They want to be with Krishna personally because they know that's what makes Krishna happy. So they are like, we don't need this like meditating on your omnipresence. Like we're your pure devotees. We just need to be with you because that's what makes you happy. So it's like basically what Krishna is preaching to them. Like he's instructing them for all of our benefit, but the gopis are totally above this level. It's like not of any use to them. So after these verses instructing the gopis, then Krishna tells them the real reason why he has stayed far away from them. And it's to intensify their meditation on him and draw their minds closer to him. So he was apparently farther away from them in physical locality, but he was bringing them closer to him on the spiritual platform. So this concept is repeated over and over and over again in our scriptures, that that we can experience so much closeness with God and with God's representatives in union, but that when we are in separation from Krishna and his representatives, actually that union and that emotion goes even deeper, because that longing, that crying, that missing can actually internally produce a deeper experience and brings even more deep ecstatic emotions. So, Krishna is not mean. Krishna is not punishing his dearest devotees, the residents of Vrindavan. Because one could ask that. He was actually in Vrindavan such a short period of the time in his life. And then he was apart from them. But he was actually doing that to bring their love deeper, to bring their meditation deeper, and to bring his love deeper, and to experience elevated emotions that we can't even perceive, actually. And if you read the prayers of all of our acharyas, their prayers, read the prayers of Narottam Das Thakur, he's not saying, I'm seeing Krishna. He's saying, where is Krishna? It's this longing, it's this crying out. And that's very beneficial for us as sadhakas. We should enter into that mood of separation, because the truth is that as long as we're not pure devotees, we haven't fully realized that union with Krishna, isn't it? but we can enter into this mood of separation and longing and crying out for Krishna and crying out for this union. And this crying out can bring us deeper in our bhakti and actually with our love pull Krishna to us. So I actually highly recommend, I don't do it all the time, but I often have a practice of just opening the songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas before starting my japa and reading some of these prayers, the English translations, and just trying to enter into that mood of prayer and separation and calling out for the Lord. And then the japa actually goes much deeper. And I'll just end, then we'll open it up for discussion. I've shared this many times in class, but when I took shelter of Radhana Swami, I said to him, when I was in India and you were in America, I felt so close to you, and now I'm sitting with you in person, but inevitably this separation will come again, what to do? And his response was, you can feel closer to me in separation than you do sitting here with me right now. And although I've been fortunate to have his association in person, actually that's been true in my spiritual life, that I feel closest to him when serving him in separation. So we can also not only practice this in our relationship with Krishna, but also in our relationship with Guru and devotees by following their instructions. So we'll stop here. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. We'll open it up for discussion, comments, questions, etc. Yes, Prabhu. John.
Is there any limitations on how much materialism should be allowed?
Is there a limit to how much materialism should be allowed without being offensive?
Yeah, so
like in a devotee's life.
yeah, I know. Each devotee opens up his own personal relationship with Krishna. So,
Zero materialism. Tell him zero.
oh, I didn't know what you were being listened to.
Yes, there's a whole audience online. Yeah, so the answer to your he said zero. He was laughing. He was making a joke, but he was also being serious. So I want to answer this question in two parts. What is material and what is spiritual? It depends on how we use it. Prabhupada gave the example of a microphone, and he said, is this microphone material or spiritual? If we use it to broadcast, material music or material subject matter, then this microphone is material. But if we use it to glorify Krishna, then it's spiritual. So if we're using something material for our own material desires and benefit, then that's materialism. And that doesn't have any place in Krishna consciousness. But if we're using material things in service to Krishna, then it becomes spiritual. And it's really about the consciousness and the intention. So even you can be brushing your teeth and taking a shower, and that can be spiritual if you're meditating that you're cleaning your body so you can serve Krishna, right? And we spiritualize every aspect of our life in our service to Krishna. So, for example, eating, we don't reject eating, but before we eat, we offer our food to Krishna, and then we take Krishna's remnants, right? So everything in our life can be for Krishna, but you also have to get guidance from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra on how to apply that principle in your own life, because one could say, oh, well then, I just want to become a millionaire and have like 5 BMWs and, I'll just use it all in Krishna's service. That's when we have to receive guidance from our teachers of, is that really for Krishna or is that for you? And the principle actually is that have the least amount of material things needed for your service for Krishna. So not zero. Because okay. I mean, some people, the six Goswamis just slept under a different tree every night. Raghunath Das Goswami only ate a palmful of buttermilk every day. So very advanced devotees, yes, they only need 0. But if we artificially try to do that, we'll not succeed. So we have to get guidance on where we are in our life, what our needs are, and what is the least amount for us. You know, because the principle is less material needs and more service to Krishna. That's the principle. But we should situate ourselves in a situation where our mind can be peaceful and our bodily needs can be taken care of so that we can properly serve Krishna. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but just so you know the essence of what I was thinking, I'm not even sure. I was thinking myself in mind, but the whole purpose is to get back to God.
The whole purpose is to have pure love for Krishna. Yeah. So actually the highest devotees, they don't even desire to go back to the spiritual world. All they desire is to purely love Krishna. Because when one purely loves Krishna, that provides such love, such joy, such satisfaction that there's no need for anything else. And that's what pleases Krishna. But then Krishna then brings those devotees back to the spiritual world. And Prabhupada, he did say that we're not on that level, so we should desire to go back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world, because that will motivate us. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's not all about materialism.
It's not at all about materialism.
I wasn't sure if that's the formula to get back to God. It's got pure love for Krishna is what we're aiming for, and
yeah,
you know, there's nobody's really perfect. Like you said, there are others who are on a higher platform, and how can we really reach that? But even then,
we can reach that by their mercy. We just have to start with where we're at. So yes, it's not at all about materialism. It's as long as we have material desires, we'll have to take another birth to fulfill those material desires. We won't go back to the spiritual world until we have no material desires and our only desire is to serve Krishna. But we emphasize in Krishna consciousness, we emphasize more the positive than the negative. We emphasize love for Krishna, attachment to Krishna, joy in Krishna's service through these processes of chanting Hare Krishna and Japa and Kirtan, hearing about Krishna through classes and reading, associating with devotees, doing service for Krishna, remembering Krishna, praying to Krishna, worshiping the deity, you know, making Krishna our best friend, surrendering everything to Krishna. We emphasize the processes of bhakti, which automatically develop love for Krishna and give us a higher taste, and then automatically the lower desires just go away. But we should also, when we see material desires, mark them for destruction. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Thank you. Damodar Priya had her hand raised.
Hare Krishna, dear Champakalata, Sakhi. My question, I don't know that we're going to have time for it, and maybe I should ask it when your husband Gopal Krishna Prabhu gives class, but I was really curious about like what questions he got and the interactions. Like, thank you so much for sharing that, because that really inspired me, and I just wanted to know more about it.
He's on the altar right now worshiping the chotas. I don't think he can come over. Gopal? Yeah, he's ringing a bell right now. Yeah. He's ringing a bell, worshiping the chotas. So yeah, better he answer the question. But I think what he's told me, what he shared is like just a lot of people ask him like, oh, what was that like being a monk in the monastery, and like what did you learn and what practices did you do and things like that. And so, you know, he'll share with them like, you know, he's distributed so many books, and he'll just share with them like the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the practices of japa and kirtan, and about his time as a brahmachari and what he did and what he learned. And then they'll often also ask him, like, because he was in Finland, they'll also ask him like, so then how did you come here? And then he'll then he'll tell them like basically our story, how he met me and how we got married and how he came here and like that, like also connecting. And this is again kind of what we were talking about, like connecting with them on a personal level and sharing his personal story opens up their hearts and make them feel like, wow, this is just such a nice person. And so then they're interested in him. And this is just such an important principle for teaching. And thank you, Domino Priya, for your comment that some of us are happily married. This is true. Some of us, so you can be very happily married in a very happy and healthy and beautiful human and spiritual Krishna conscious marriage. And we need more of that in our movement. We need healthy marriages in our movement. And yeah, we need that. So, you know, just like making friends with people and listening to them and connecting with them on a personal level, like really opens them up to Krishna consciousness. Like recently, last month, I was actually at this like health retreat, and I was making many friends there and sharing just like, yeah, making friends with them, hearing about them. And then naturally, because they liked me, they would ask me about my life. And I was like teaching people japa and distributing books and all of these things. And, you know, people are like messaging me all the time, like, I'm reading this book and it's like changing my life. And thank you so much. So it's really something to be said for, yeah, connecting with people on a personal level.
Yeah, Krishna consciousness doesn't mean being crazy, being eccentric, or being weird, or being perfect. It means being natural, being loving, compassionate, and sharing the bhakti with others, like Champakalata, Sakhi, with us, and her husband with his clients. I saw the car. It's so perfectly clean. He's got air freshener, he's got books, and he's dressed up so nicely.
Yes, he
This
wears a
is,
suit every day.
yeah,
Yeah,
such
so
an
I really
inspiration.
want to comment on I really want to comment on the chat, but there's no time. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, wonderful class. Sakhi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Everybody, turn on the cameras. On, please, if you can. And stand up. See, Jeffrey Eckler finally stood up. It only took him a year. Wonderful class. Thank you, Champakalata Devi. Okay. Bhima Prabhu, in my next life, I'm ready to serve you as your spouse to test your bhakti. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Everybody on this call, Ki Jai. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam never stops. Okay, Bhima Prabhu says, hold on, there's something going on in the chat. Angel, Bhima, it's honored to be allowed to be close enough to another to get that mud on us. I agree. Yes, we are in this together, in this wonderful mud of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Love you all. Hari Hari Bol.